All right, I'm a carpenter by trade, woodworker, 40 years old, recovering addict. That's pretty much covers everything, the big stuff anyway. Over time, I stopped describing myself in what I want to be and what I actually am. You know, I've come to terms with, who I am over the years and, what I'm not. So I used to describe myself by the music I listened to, by the clothes that I wore, by the hairstyle that I had. And, that's changed over the years. It's toned down a little bit. But now it's about how I feel, who I am, who I keep around me, friends that I choose.
Chanel Hurst, architect and commercial developer, artist. I think that's it for now. Woman, person of color, artist, architect, and maybe a little bit of philanthropist. My workplace is, everyone's basically older than me, in their mid to early 60s. Well, they're mid 30s, early 60s. Everyone's mostly male. There's probably, in development, there's like 2 other women. Everyone's Caucasian, white. There isn't a real minority kind of presence, but yeah, I guess that's where I fit in. There's no queer presence either, so.
Hi, my name is Mariah Onabi, and I'm here to speak about empathy today, and I'm excited to be here. Being responsible is really important to me. Being compassionate, empathetic, enthusiastic about life, and spiritual. Growing up was a little difficult in some respects. I wasn't, economically things were fine, but there was a lot going on, and I ran away from home around the age of 17. And a lot of the people that that was a really life-changing experience. I was running away from an abusive home. So.
All right. So when I grew up in a pretty abusive household too, okay? My mother married my dad. They divorced before I even could remember, okay? And then she remarried and he ended up being a complete asshole, okay? Verbal abuse, physical abuse, all that kind of stuff. But we had to pretend that everything was okay. And that's just how my mom wanted it. She wanted everybody to pretend that everything was okay. So I had to grow up walking on eggshells all the time, thinking that the other shoe was going to drop at any given time. As I got a little bit older, the friends that I picked in my early teenage years, I'm trying to answer your question in a roundabout way. In my early teenage years were like the tough guys, the drinkers, the fighters, and I think that was just a reaction. It was a reaction to my childhood, hanging out with the kids that had no problem fighting. Then as I got a little bit older, my friends ended up being, the group of friends that I hung out with, one of them was a Buddhist, 2 of them were gay twins. I had a black girlfriend, and there was a couple other people sprinkled in there that just did not look anything like anybody I had ever grown up with. And I had the most fun with those people, still to this day. That was the best group of friends that I ever had.
Hey, not a drug dealer.
Wait, could you elaborate on that a little bit?
So I told someone my story about I was in this, I kind of grew up in different houses, which were all in what you would consider the ghetto. And there were a lot of hard times. There were certain things going on around, there were drugs around, but like that had nothing to do with me. It's just something that I saw. And they were just like, yes, I saw The Wire, and it seems like a hard lifestyle, and I know that you've made it, and I can tell that you've come far and you fought through. And I was just like, The Wire? Like, that has nothing to do with me. I know. And I was just like, I think in my head, I went somewhere else in the conversation, obviously. It was just like, and you put on that nervous smile, and you're just like, okay, I don't feel like educating you right now. I don't feel like telling you about yourself. It was like one of those things where you're just like, walk away, because it's ridiculous. But in my professional life, there's never a time where I don't have to like reintroduce myself or or just kind of show my worth in a way. Anywhere so if I go to a new office, if I'm dealing with a new client, it's always like this, show me you can do this. I usually do stick within like the queer community. Just, I don't know, I feel a lot like comfortable, safer, like being myself around people who are also queer. Maybe queer POC a little bit more. Non-binary. It's I guess it's like people who have already dealt with a lot of microaggressions or shit in social settings, who kind of know what it's like. So it's like, all that's off the table. We all know. Let's just have fun.
Well, no, I'm more reluctant to ask for support from people outside of the Narcotics Anonymous community. I kind of keep it to myself. Anybody who I know anybody who I think might not understand, I just don't even mention anything.
Well, I mean, I think just like for one thing that like, in the suffering that I experienced, I know that the pain that doesn't go just for granted, because it brought me to so many people that I would have never really met. Because like my family rejected me for my family rejected me and abused me for so many reasons, and even if there was food, I didn't always get to eat it. I didn't always get to express myself. It wasn't easy being brought up in a family that consistently insisted on being male when it was so obvious to me that I'm a female and that I express myself in feminine ways, and I was there was so much there was a lot going on. So when I was on the street, I had the ability to meet a lot of chosen family, a lot of my family I could relate to more. So there's been something that's been occurring in my life where I can't necessarily relate to my blood family or my biological family as much. But I can relate to people. I can relate to my family members that have gone hungry, that have been sexually exploited. Something that's really important to my spirituality is not just not sympathizing, not just caring about people, but at the root of empathy in Latin, it means to suffer together. So to the point where I want to alleviate suffering. I can't, when the world suffers, I suffer. I can't separate myself from the world suffering and from people suffering. So I'm here to alleviate some of the suffering and to find some enjoyment in the process of life.
It took years for me to actually make the decision to stop using all drugs. So at one point I was homeless in Kensington. I was down there for about 4 years. I was in and out of Philadelphia County jails. When I had enough of that, I got out. I tried to get clean. I think about a month and a half I stayed actually drug-free, and I relapsed at that point. My drug of choice was heroin, and among other things, but that was the main thing. And I was infected with hepatitis C at the time. I've since got treated for that. and it's undetectable in my system. But there was like this culmination of events to where the hepatitis C was damaging my liver, so was me being on methadone. And I really thought that I was going to die because it was pretty bad. I lost a lot of weight. That was the thing about me getting clean. I actually thought that I had to be in a position where I thought that I was going to die. And that's like a running metaphor in my life. I have to be in serious crisis mode to actually want to change. Something happened when I got clean that it allowed me to slow down a little bit and not think about my own thoughts so much, and to put a little bit more focus on I can't really explain it. Like I've become more observant since I got clean. And you know, if you just take a minute and really look at somebody's body language and not just what they're saying, you know, like all kinds of stuff about somebody, you can really tell what's going on, you know? It's usually just by a feeling I get. How somebody looks in the eyes. I can pretty much tell if somebody's a genuine soul, like right off the bat. It has nothing to do with age. It has nothing to do with gender. It has nothing to do with what somebody looks like. It really is just a feeling I get. And I'll tell you this too, if conversation flows out of me easily with somebody else, that's usually who I have around me.